What is our mission? Our mission is to enhance professional development opportunities for the women in the deep foundation industry. So, what does it mean? We are not talking about the committee having just women. We are talking about having men and women both. Because without men, I don't think we can make a change in the industry. And we definitely need all viewpoints, not just women, how we feel, what we want, but also men to share how this can be collectively achieved. Foster understanding and awareness. This is a very important thing because this is what will lead to retaining women in the industry. Not just hiring them, but retaining them after 3 years or 4 years when they want to make the switch. We don't want them to make the switch. Affect real and broad industry change. It is not just in geotechnical engineering or structural engineering, but overall in civil engineering in the whole industry. So how is Women in Deep Foundations in USA achieving this? So basically, lectures. We have many lectures on what is required for the industry for women, and how men are implementing that, and also lectures where women speakers, keynote speakers are invited to speak about their journey, the topics that they are passionate about, and their projects. Networking receptions. This is one of my favorite ones. So every conference in DFI in United States actually has a networking reception. So networking reception is a very good platform for all women and men to know each other, what they do in the industry, and what type of projects they work on, and what companies they work with, things like that. Professional development grants. So DFI has been providing professional development grants to students and young engineers and also professors during their annual conference once a year. So this professional development grant is something that actually provides a student or a young engineer to go to a conference to experience how the conference is, what do they have to learn, and what type of projects are presented, what type of speakers come and present, and what companies are getting involved. And there is also another aspect in this professional development grants, like Women in Deep Foundations Committee actually also talks about buddy system. So if you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter, you're going to a conference for the first time, how do you feel? You don't know what type of speakers are going to be there. What are you supposed to do? What is the conference going to do for you and your company? So usually what we do is like we provide a buddy system. So another engineer or another person in the industry who's been attending the conference for more than 2 or 3 times is paired with that person who is going for the first time. So the interaction that they have and the person can be introduced to based on their interest to others in the industry is very much helpful. And regional working groups. So this is a very good one too, because the conferences happen once a year, right? But the people that you see, you'll only see once a year. How do you keep up with everything that is happening in the industry? So based on this, like Women in Deep Foundations Committee has actually started regional groups. Since I'm from New York City, last summer, with the help of 2 other engineers in the industry, I started Metro New York City Women in Deep Foundations Group. It has been amazing. It has been amazing. You see the same group of people. You get to talk to each other on usually we organize 2 events per year. So you get to see the people, you get to talk to them twice a year, and find out about what projects they're working on in their companies and what projects you are working on, what is your interest. There's a lot of networking that can happen in here which will benefit you as in the career, in the personal development, and also for your company itself. And professional development workshops. This happens all over the country and also happens during our conferences. And this is something which is beneficial for men and women both. Industry academia partnership. And also the lanyards. We are all wearing this. If you see this, this means like you're supporting women in the industry. If you haven't bought this yet, you please buy this, and you can use it any conference, any seminar, anywhere you go. When they ask you what is this, then you tell them you're a big supporter of women in the industry, and they also should become one. So let's move on to, so before moving on, I wanted to let you know, there have been few people who asked me, how did you get associated with DFI? So are you an employee of DFI or are you just doing this on your own? So I just wanted to give you a brief of when I was introduced and how I'm standing here, just my story. So I was introduced to DFI in 2016. I've been in the industry for a very long time, in consulting engineering industry before 2016. And to tell you the truth, I never went to a single conference. I was always working on projects in the office, or I was always out in the construction field, construction sites as an on-site engineer, but I never got a chance to go to the conference. So my first entry was when I was doing business development for Nuco Skyline. The first conference was in New York City, and that is the conference actually introduced me to DFI India as well. There were two presenters who presented on one of the projects during the lunch, one of the luncheons on the conference day. And that's when I realized, oh my God, there is a India chapter. I would like to be part of it. And 2017, I attended S3 conference, which is Slopes Support and Stabilization Conference. That's where I found out, well, there is something called Women in Deep Foundations Committee. What does that mean? So Helen Robinson, who is the past chairperson of the committee, was there, and she explained me what that group means and how they support and retain women, and that was it. I joined the Women in Deep Foundations Committee, and after that, I have gotten so many opportunities where I could advance myself in the industry and also bring my company visibility that is required and also business to my company. So as I told you, I've been involved in the conferences and I've written few articles for the magazines. And also I got an opportunity to interview one of the esteemed engineer in New York City and write a member profile on her. So think about how much visibility that can provide you. People are reading the magazines and they see your name, and then who do you work for? They see the company name. So they go online and find out what your company does. And next time they're designing a project, who do they call? They call you. So I would recommend all of you to get involved in DFI activities, because that is where you meet key people, key players, and find out about the projects. And that's where you can actually tell them what your company does. And next thing you know, you'll be working on a project together. So today's topic is challenges for women in the industry. We are not exclusively talking about just women. We are talking about both men and women, how men can help women pass the stage and work in the same industry. So before I introduce our moderator and the panelists, I would like to thank the sponsors. So we worked a little bit on getting sponsorship just for this conference program. So Gripple, I thank Gripple for their sponsorship, Geekin, and Thornton and Tomasetti. Thornton and Tomasetti has an office in Mumbai. So they have a big team of women engineers. They have about 8 or 9 engineers, so it was really nice for them to support us. So I would like to introduce our moderator, Dr. Yogini Deshpande. She's the director and principal consultant, Renuka Consultants. And the panelists today are Annapurni Iyer. She's the founder of Engosem Consultants. And Theresa Engler, you all know Theresa Engler by now, Executive Director, D Foundation Institute, and Ms. Suprabha Marathe. She is the Deputy Municipal Commissioner, Environment, Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. So I want to leave you all, before we start the panel discussion, with this positive message. It's not about calling anyone out. It's about calling everyone in. Thank you.
Thanks, Lakshmi. A big thank you to the DFI and a special note of thanks to Mr. Prasad for encouraging this panel. I have been to various conferences in the structures and as well as the geotech sides. And I think probably this is the first time in the Indian industry we see such a panel being put up and a discussion being taken place. I think that is very progressive of all the executive committee members of DFI. A little bit about myself. I have a PhD in concrete material structures. My master's is in geotech from Mumbai University. Can I just get that?
Sure.
So I graduated with a bachelor's in '96, and I was working in a consulting company. After which I started working as a senior research fellow with the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, and I was working on the one of the first projects in India, which looked at developing M60, M70 grades of concrete using fly ash and silica fume. Probably today in India, this has become very common. At that point of time, this was the first time you were doing it, and you were trying to utilize the same for nuclear power plants. After which, in 2002, I went to do my PhD at the University of Purdue, Purdue University, and I was then a faculty at Michigan Tech and University of Alabama, South Alabama. Huskies.
You woke up.
Currently, I'm on the board of directors, the Indian chapter of American Concrete Institute, and I run my own consulting company, which is an end-to-end assessment company in the construction industry. We do a lot of high-end engineering tests in the pre-construction, post-construction, and during the demolition stage. So that's a little bit of what I currently do. Before we start the panel, what I would like to ask my co-panelists is to give a brief introduction about themselves so that you know where all the other women engineers come from, and then we'll start the discussion. So I'd like to start with Teresa first.
So I have to qualify that I'm not an engineer, but I've been around them for many years. I am part of DFI. I've said it several times today. I definitely find it, I feel like it's my family. I've worked with DFI for over 23 years. Started out really just as an office gal, I guess you could say back then, really to get out of the house. I was taking care of my children, and I just wanted something to do. And it just opened up a world of opportunities to me. And I realized that I really wanted a career. So as I moved up through the company, I had many positions, and then was offered the position of executive director. And I'll be honest, just the climate at that time, and it's not that long ago, it was 2006, but this was a man's industry. And I was the assistant director at the time when the director resigned. And all I could think of is, well, what am I going to do? Because they're probably not going to offer me this position, and I don't know if I want to stay here. And, I just had a million things running through my head. And then, surprisingly, they did offer it to me. And I was flattered, and I felt like I could do this. It just gave me a lot of inspiration that they were progressive enough to say, yes, we'll have a woman lead this organization. So it's just been a wonderful journey, and I've met so many people. But I can say that at our conferences, if there was one or two women, another woman or two, that was about it. I'd make jokes when I'd go away to conferences, and I'd say, well, the only good thing about it is there's no line at the bathroom because I'm like the only woman there. But it's really wonderful to see more and more women getting into the industry, and just to say that this whole thing came about through our Educational Trust, which is a program that provides scholarships to students. But our previous chair, David Coleman, he said, I'd like to see us do something for women in the industry and have a different type of fund, something that can, whatever you think you need. Like, let's, talk to me, Mary Ellen, who's our technical director, and that's how it was born, and really left it to us to decide how we would approach it. And that's when we said, well, it needs to be men and women. It needs to have, everyone included, and just talk out loud about what some of the issues are and discuss how the diversity in the office and in your business can help rather than hinder. And I think it's come a long way. So proud to be part of it.
Thanks, Teresa. I now ask Annapurni to give a brief introduction about herself. Okay.
Thank you, Lakshmi. So a very good evening. Once again, a very good evening to all. First of all, it's an honor to be in this platform. Thank you, DFI, for this invitation. And it's again first time that I'm a part of this women's platform initiated by DFI. Going by the short background from where I come, Annapurni Iyer, I did my bachelor's from Mumbai University under the guidance of Professor Anand Katti. Then I did my master's in business administration from MIT Pune. I joined McAfee in the year 2002, and since then there has been no looking back. Now presently I'm leading the company Engosim Consultants. We provide consultancy services in various geotechnical aspects, mainly related to slope stability issues. I was asked that why did I take up civil engineering? Just to give a brief on why did I do that. For me, it was a simple call because I believe that we should do what we love and what we want to do. And two things were clear. First of all, I knew what I shouldn't do. That is, sorry to any code lovers here, I didn't like coding or getting into IT or computer science. And definitely I wanted to do engineering in the field where I could visualize, witness, learn by actually seeing what's happening around. So broadly the options were mechanical and civil, and the choice definitely went for civil. Experience since then, college experience was really fantastic, very encouraging college mates. We were just 14 out of the total 120 civil intake in the college. So we did have that attention, that special attention, which we all like at that time. Okay. But it was quite encouraging as well. Immediate placement after graduation, it was a warm welcome at a structural firm. Then I was placed in McAfee as a trainee engineer, and there was not a single field where McAfee didn't allow me to enter. Design, technical, marketing, sales, R&D, training. We had all these wings, and at that time it was just a 15-number employee company, and I got the opportunity to get exposure to all the fields. Sky was the limit. That's what colleagues and seniors used to always reiterate. Opportunities in all kinds of sites, across hills, mountains, oceans as well. We did projects in Arabian Sea. So same experience, we had curiosity, attention, wherever we used to go because we were always in minority. Of course, I can even term it as a celebrity status sometimes because whenever we went for a presentation, generally for a marketing presentation, McAfee was fairly a product promoting or a solution promoting company. So we used to have a lot of marketing presentation. So whenever the name used to go, they used to come to see that who has come to give the presentation. In equality and consideration at workplace, always. Though being only a female in room full of engineers had become a normal experience. Thankful to my mentors, seniors, colleagues, and clients for ensuring secure and comfortable workplace. That is the most sought thing when we enter the industry as engineers, be it male or female. Some of the images, remote places. I had the opportunity to go to border areas. Bhutan, this one is in Bhutan. It's not coming? Yeah. This is again a site in Pune where I was invited to inspect the wall constructed by the Savi group, one of the leading group in Pune who leads in constructing patented retaining walls. Last slide, my pillars and inspirers, of course, parents, family, my in-laws, they are octogenarians, they are in their 80s and 90s. My mentor since 2002, she's again a well-known, practicing geotechnical engineer in this field, Miss Minimol Korula. So since I entered, from the time I entered McAfee till now, there are a lot of mentors, but the one who has always inspired is she. So these are the pillars of strength and inspire us. So that's it, a small brief from myself. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Annapurni. I now ask Ms. Marathe to give an introduction about herself.
I would like to thank DFI for inviting me for this panel discussion, and Yogini in particular. We know each other for quite few years, and she was very keen I should come. And I would like to thank my organization also, because right now I'm working with environment, and then this goes out of context when we talk about environment, though it actually doesn't. But being here gives me a pleasure because I'm meeting so many people from so many sectors of the industry. So it makes you richer by experience and knowledge, even if you don't know anything. Uh, if they put on my portfolio, probably it would explain about myself. But I have done my graduation and post graduation from Mumbai Vidyapit. I'm ME Structures. I have done my LLM with environmental laws. That is where I get connected to environment. I also hold a couple of PG diplomas in valuation, sustainable environment, uh, personality management of personals, so many sectors. This is why, actually, this is what we do in corporation or any government organization. Though we may be specialist in something, we are general practitioners. Wherever we are placed, we need to perform. We can't be choosy, neither about our job profile, bosses, or our subordinates. So you perform in the given set of circumstances, that is your best. I have worked for Brimstone project, which is Mumbai Stormwater Drain Management Project, which was the first base project started somewhere in 1990s. And it was the first time Mumbai's entire stormwater drain system was studied. The reasons of flooding were understood, and so many suggestions were given. I was instrumental in making action plan on behalf of MCGM, which we had sent to MMRD and Center for Financial Assistance. It did not come initially, but after 2005 deluge, we started getting assistance from everywhere to control flooding of Mumbai. I was also technical associate of Chitale committee, who studied 2005 deluge and suggested recommendations. I have worked with for 11 years with rainwater harvesting. It's very difficult to tell that I worked for such a field for 11 years, but it was more of social engineering and applied engineering than pure engineering. Thereafter, for last 5 years, I have been into actual buildings, planning, estimation, construction, and management. So there the deep foundations once again came into play. We had buildings right from ground floor to about 23 storied, and the role of HOD of the government sector becomes very important in tendering process as well as execution, especially the foundations, because always there is some time back there was a discussion that the tenders have to be flexible, but the thing is, what you cannot see, nobody wants to believe. So when there are changes in the foundation, we come across a lot of queries that why it was not initially thought of, why such changes are occurring, who is involved, so many other things, because it's a matter of public money. So what you need to do is you need to do a lot of hard work to understand the tenders, the designs, and only then your confidence level is better, and then you can manage with the contractors, who invariably come up with some or the other reasons that they want certain changes after the work is started. It is very easy to make changes in pre-bid time, then after the work is allotted. But then this is part of work, you have to be good in administration and management also. But this is all, I mean, I don't hold any special works, but I have been doing good in my organization so that everyone will be able to perform. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manate. So, coming to the topic of the challenges that we face, a lot of times the belief is that women have come in engineering in the recent past, or at least the numbers have increased in the recent past. But taking a clue from today morning's presentation by Howard, it suddenly struck me I should look at women in engineering and the history in terms of where we were in engineering, what have we contributed to engineering from a historical sense. And I read that one of the first women in engineering was actually Hypatia, and she is supposed to be responsible she's recognized as an engineer even before the engineering as such became a formal profession. She's credited with the invention of the hydrometer that we used for soil testing. So, women have performed a good role in soil and deep foundations, we can definitely say. Then there was another lady called Sarah Guppy, who was 1770 to 1852. She was an English woman, and she patented a design for bridge foundations. And she gave this, so her patent and the design for the design of the bridge foundation that she patented, that particular bridge apparently did not get constructed for different reasons. But then Thomas Telford of the Telford, what we know as Telford Publications, the same gentleman, the same company, the same gentleman, he bought her design for another bridge, and that particular company built that bridge using her designs. So essentially, women have been contributing to the industry, the construction industry specifically, since quite some time, and their contributions were getting recorded. So as we see that this ancient times contribution has been there, the role of women engineers has been limited for different reasons. And women face different challenges in the construction industry. To give an example, and some of these challenges have been overcome, but they still are there. To give an example, when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, a premier construction company came for campus interviews. And the note that, in those days, it wasn't emails that were sent. You would get a notice board. The note would be put up on the notice board. So-and-so company is coming for campus interviews in 97. The note said, women do not apply. It just was very clear. And I'm not going to mention the company, but it was a very good blue chip company that said women do not apply. So well, at that time there were only 4 girls in the engineering class, but what were we supposed to do? So obviously from that class today only it's just me who is continuing to be in the engineering field. Those 3 have gone on to do IT and whatever other things. So taking my experience, I would like to ask the panel, starting with you, Annapurni, or no, I'll go with Lakshmi. What has been your experience being in this construction industry from the time that you started so far? How has it been?
Well, that's thinking about it, it seems like a very long time, even though I haven't been in the industry for a long time. After I graduated from bachelor's, it was very difficult to convince my father that I would like to pursue master's. I do not want to get married and I do not want to settle down. So it took me 6 months to convince my dad. But then I got an opportunity to do my master's. Master's is where I realized there is so much to engineering than just, working in the office or, doing a job. There is so much more to it. Once I finished master's, my first 2 companies were my foundations for design and engineering. Even though both the companies did not have any other female engineers, I was the only female engineer in both the companies. The people I worked with were really, really great. All the engineers, the 2 bosses that I had, the first boss was from England and the other boss was from India. So both of them were phenomenal in shaping my career. Even though I did not get any experience as a field engineer, the experience that I got in the office by interacting with them was immense. And from there, I started working for a company that actually is an energy foundation, oil industry and mining and natural gas that is completely different from residential and commercial industry. I never imagined that I would be going to remote places in United States all by myself with bunch of drilling crew and on-site workers, understanding the lay of the land and telling them what to do. That was the biggest thing. If you see me, I'm not very big built. I'm very tiny. So standing in front of them and telling them like what they are supposed to do was not easy. I remember there was a project I worked on in Michigan. This was a pump. This is the second biggest pump station in United States, Eastern Access Program project. And the first day when I went up to the safety meeting, I was introduced, but they did not introduce me as what I would be doing on site. So everyone on site, it was two construction companies on site and about 50 to 80 people I was supposed to manage. I was the only female on site. So after introduction, everyone went their way and they started doing their own things. And they all thought I was the intern. I was just graduated and I was going to be there to learn from everyone on site and they could boss me around. But then that was not the case. Very quickly, they understood they have to listen to me. First, I was not from the same country, and second, I was very young compared to them. So there have been challenges in my, in my career, but I think I have been fortunate in finding people who have been my mentors and my pillars too. So that being said, I think it's all about the perspective. It's all about the perspective, how you look at every situation that you get into as a woman. It doesn't matter if you're in the office or if you're in the field. This is like, getting field experience for a civil engineer is very important. Very important. A lot of women I meet, they say like, oh, I don't like to go to the field. Why? Don't you want to know what you're building on? Soils are very important to what you design. So if you don't know the different types of soil and if you don't feel them in your fingers, how are you going to decide? So perspective of how the situation is and being positive in that situation will definitely help. It is not the end of the world if someone tells you that you're a female and, well, you shouldn't be doing this, what are you doing? No, that's not it. So you educate them. You educate them why you have to be there. So that is what I would tell everyone. And having leaders and mentors who are helping you go through the steps is very important. So look for mentors around you when you're working in an industry which is completely filled by men. Don't have to be women, but men can also be mentors and they can help you be successful.
I'll ask Ms. Marathe, as you know, that you entered the industry in 86, from 86 to 2019. What changes do you see? How much do you think the needle has moved from the time that you entered the industry to now? And what is it that you would maybe want to see or would have liked to see at that point?
Would I like to see?
Yeah.
When I entered in 86, we were 2 among 70 in my class. So that was the proportion of lady engineers we would have in all branches, not just civil. So basically our sites were not even having basic facilities for women. It was just not realized that we need A, B, C, D, E things on site because there could be a lady engineer. This was the first thing, that was my first experience when we would go for site inspections or whatever. If you have to inspect the drains, it would be much inside, so the type of ladder you need, whatever. But they were not trained for that. From now, it's 30 years. Further, you have many more girls coming into the market. So there is a change. There is equal facilities and equal consideration, which I feel. There are some issues which she has already said. There are some issues, but yes, there has been a positive change in consideration and opportunities. You see women in many forums and they are the leaders. Means even team leaders are women in many forums. This I see change today. I would have loved it if it would have been at that time. Yeah.
My second question to my panel is, what were the changes that you have had to personally work on, and ask your team or ask your company to change or ask your client to change the way the perceptions? What were these, specific incidences, if you have them, and if you could share it with us? So I'll ask Annapurni if she has something like this to share.
Thanks, Yogini. Yeah, see, when I entered into the professional career, obviously the company was quite supportive, and they believed that women have, of course, in addition to the engineering qualities, they do have certain inherent qualities that can be utilized by the organization. And MD used to encourage employing, the then MD used to encourage employment of females. His point of view was, if female have to sustain in this field, performing in all the fields, not only in office, go to the site, solve the problem, even get the critical things, face the critical issues and get it solved. You have to ask, okay, don't run away from the problem. Instead, ask for what you want to get it solved by you itself at the same, being at the same place. So once I was asked at 3 p.m., if you know the geography of Maharashtra, at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, I was asked to go to Lonavala, which is about, again, 100 kilometers from Pune, to get a design verified. Okay, from Mumbai to Pune, Lonavala, it takes about 2 hours drive. From 3 p.m. if I start, I will be reaching there about 5:30, and I have to return back. There is no stay arrangement over there. So actually, I was not comfortable. And MD asked, what do you want? That has to be done. The task has to be done today. What do you want for that? So I said, I need security because I don't know. And it was for the Sahara Ambi Valley Lake City, which, if you all know, it's at the hilltop. It was not there. It was just in the development stage, excavation stage. So we know what kind of facility. Now it's a luxurious place, but at that time it was just a forest. So I said, I need security when I'm going there and I have to come back again. So he said, take my vehicle, go there and get the job done and come back. So if you want things to be done, you have to ask, shed your inhibitions. Let us shed our inhibitions first, if we do have. And then be open to ask for that. Definitely, if you ask, there is either going yes or no. Okay, if no, then they are the loser, not we. And if yes, definitely things are going to move ahead. One more experience I'll share, a small one. I was asked to again go to a highly volatile situation at the site. A wall had collapsed, and unfortunately it had collapsed on very near to a slum area. And we know that when there is some disaster happening, how the reaction is going to be. I didn't know this background, the volatile background, when I was asked to go and handle the site. When I went to the site, there were more than 50 people around me. And then I understood that why I was sent to the site, because being a lady, there won't be any hands falling on me to be attacked. So there are again positive ways also. Yes, at that time it was little shocking, and I was afraid. But then it made me stronger further, and I came to know that how to handle such kind of situation. So yes, these are all the social issues. At the same time, if any technical issues are there, work to find out what is required, demand, and get it satisfied and move ahead. That's it.
That's an interesting.
Thank you.
That is an interesting experience. I guess maybe I should write back to the company who had written no girls should apply. Well, there is a benefit of having girl engineers on your team. Yeah, so sort of changing the patterns of thinking or understanding of the requirements. I think this is a small aspect when it comes to hiring of women. I would like to ask Ms. Marathe, what are the such situations that she had faced in terms of interdepartmental understandings, and especially from a women perspective, having to work to change that, and how did you do that?
Very difficult question. Yes, the situations come. First of all, when you join, they expect you to work in office only. They don't expect that you will be trained for site works. You are not trained. That's what they feel. नहीं ऊपर चढ़ना होता है, नीचे उतरना होता है, and बहुत देर तक काम करना होता है. So that is where you have to be prepared. Means you should be prepared so much that people tend to follow you instead of keeping you away from the work. Fortunately, in my initial years, I really had good bosses. So he had 2 daughters. So people used to say, no, he's having 3 daughters. Third daughter is in the office. So that type of care and concern if you get and the encouragement you get, you tend to move up in the situation much better. But options sometimes you realize कि your being female keeps you away from some opportunities. It keeps you away just because they feel that you will not be able to handle. They don't even ask you whether you will handle or you will not handle. Just take it for granted that you cannot. But as she has rightly pointed out, there are certain situations where you are invited for being a female. So there are pluses and there are minuses. And what you need to do is you need to prove your qualities. I used to say earlier also, and I stand by that for good performance, my classmate would perform to 60 or 70% of his abilities. We were two. One is Alpa Shet, who is heading VMS, and I'm the second one. But we had to perform 120% to say that, okay, they are good. So this is what you have to keep in mind, and it is not just my experience. I met certain senior engineers and architects. They were 25 years senior to me, and they also had a similar thought process. Because it is something new na. When something new comes in our life also, we are little doubtful. So the same doubt continues. In design field, by now people have no women are there. Now to they also know they are there in the construction field also. Deep foundations probably not to that extent. It is the doubt about new entries. So that is the initial hitch pitch. When you take a new chappal, it bites, no? So it's that type of thing. But you have to know that you have to perform, and the only way to perform and sustain is hard work and prove your talent. There is no shortcut to that.
Thank you. Um, so I think what this panel would like to, when you say, even if it's challenges, but what Ms. Marathi has rightly put it, the challenges that what we face is essentially what the counterpart think is the shoe bite. And it's not that we're biting, it's just that there is this drawback in terms of trying to understand that this newbie needs a certain kind of mentorship that probably within the men or the boys, when the boys come into the construction industry, the men are very ready to handhold. In case of women, probably that mentorship, that aspect of mentorship, while I think all of us who are here because we had good bosses or good mentors, but that number needs to be increased, and that can happen only when the men in the industry, who are the majority right now, will hold out a helping hand and mentor them. So on that note, before going and asking each of the panelists who their mentors were, I would like to open the one question to the panel. I'm going to turn this around a little bit. I want to ask some of the seniors who are sitting in this auditorium right now, how do you perceive, has the industry changed with the diversification that is happening within the workforce? And as you are seeing more women enter the industry, what are the changes that you have seen or noticed or have had to undertake? And what has been your experience about it? Instead of me calling out names, I would request some of the seniors from the industry to give their opinions on it.
It's been positive. I found that girls work harder than the boys.
Oh, thank you. Dr. Basakar, can I have your opinion on this?
Taking it out of the way, encouraging is a very nice initiative and well expressed thoughts by the mature ladies and professional ladies of India and abroad. So, as far as the expectations from the women professional it goes. In fact, running a company is running a business, so there's no bias as such, whether it is a gent or a ladies in front of you. So the only expectation is, as any interviewer would expect, that whether the person incumbent is able to deliver the necessity of the organization or not. No bias as such. So if at all the challenges are to be expected, whether the lady in front is capable of taking up the challenges or not, whether the organization can benefit from the presence of the lady or not. These are the questions which we normally see, and whether the candidate, the lady, is able to address it, that's fine.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I would just like to say that I've been a member of the Deep Foundation Institute almost, I think, as long as Teresa, and it was a very male-dominated organization for a long time. And when I heard the Women in Deep Foundation were going to start a committee, I thought, oh, that's great. You know, they should support each other, and we should support them. And but it was something completely unexpected to me. The women have taken over the organization. And I'll tell you what, the DFI today, in just a couple of years, is twice the organization as what it was. They say diversity brings, you know, power and beauty and greatness to an organization, and I am so thankful for the Women in Deep Foundation who have revolutionized the DFI here in just a couple of years.
Thank you.
So, I run a company with about 400 people. This is not about just engineers in geotech, just about women being employed in the company. So, I encourage my HR when we go for campus interviews, check whether they are women civil engineers. Check first. Usually when they project to us, they say we have to clean this, the list. Recently recruited from IIT Tirupati. And this was a question I posed. And originally they didn't present the top 10 because we're looking at concrete. This is what areas we want. And then we picked 4, only one joined. Others we accepted only one join. The girl didn't join. So the second round last week we again attempted to do it. So in the work environment, I find the mentality of the 95% women and 90% men have to change. As a boss, and I tell my managers, you have to keep an eye on the young women who come and work along with young boys. We are indirectly responsible if something goes wrong. So that's something that, like we have to prepare it like a home and keep an eye. So this is something which we are not used to. We try to not to send a boy and a girl together on a mission alone in a bike or something like that. You know, that's what we elders think, but they think it's okay. But their parents will not be okay with that. So, and of course, the restrooms. We make sure, in my company, we make sure, I said if the restrooms are clean, it's a good judge of the company. So the women are asked to manage the restrooms of men also, because they do it well in their homes. You don't know how to do that. And I think you people have a double task, because you have to manage your home and then you have to manage your work. So this is not really true. This responsibility is not there for the men folk whom we employ. So we don't want the women to work late. See, these are some of the policies that the as somebody who can put it across, has helped more women to come in. So we have about 15% women, and they bring more women saying it's a safe place to work and things like that. So this is my experience.
Thank you.
So my last question to Lakshmi, if you could speak a little bit about your mentors.
I always find mentors around me. Everyone I meet, I'll try to learn something from them. That being said, I think I've had 2 strong mentors. I know this sounds really cliche, but it's my husband. It was an arranged marriage. We didn't know each other. The first year was not easy. But then I think he has been my biggest backbone. He knows my positive, potential. He knows my potential. He knows my, what I'm good at. So every job that I have taken in my whole career, he is the one who has driven me. He's the one who has told me, like, no, I think you should take this job because of this. And that's what has led me to where I am today. And without his support, I don't think I would be here. Even though he is not a civil engineer, he has told me what I can do, what I can't do. And the second one I would like to bring up is my senior from University of Texas, Rupesh Khadam. He works for geostructures in United States now. He's always been, I've known him not too long, only from my second year of master's. And he's always been there to tell me, teach me design, teach me engineering, teach me any questions I have on, being on site or construction. And he's always there to tell me how it is like to work in a man's world. What are the things I should be looking out for? So having mentors like him and my husband, I think I've lucked out. And it's been a very, satisfying journey throughout my career.
Teresa?
Well,
You have a question?
Yeah, I want to ask a question.
Sure.
You.
Okay.
So, who is the first woman engineer in India?
Shakuntala Bhagat. Miss Shakuntala Bhagat.
Oh, sorry.
Shakuntala Bhagat was 25 years senior to me. Her son studied with me. So she and daughter of Mr. Nirvankar from Mumbai, they were the first British people.
You're saying in civil engineering?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm asking engineer.
Okay, engineer I think is way back in 1930s. I can't recollect the name, though I did use her name in one of my presentations last year to IIT Guwahati. But I think in the 1930s was the first engineer from Madras.
Yes.
And then she went to do her MS also afterwards.
Madras University.
Yeah.
A. Lalita.
Yes, correct.
1943.
Yeah.
She is from Telugu, Andhra.
Okay. All moved to Telangana, I guess, or Andhra. Teresa.
And one more thing I want to. So, in Rani Rudramadevi, to protect her people, she built a channel around the fort. So, during those days itself, she did engineering work to protect her people, constructing a channel.
okay, it was mentors, right? So I would say actually the previous director of DFI was a great mentor for me. Just again, I came into it, I never knew anything about this industry. So learning from him and understanding just the culture of what the predecessors of DFI wanted for this industry, I really hope that I have, taken that to heart and carried it through for many years as the industry continues to change, just keeping that same feeling that we serve your industry, really, and that's what it's about, and I really impress that upon my employees. The other one would be I'm going to do a cliche, it was my mom, just a very strong woman, and though we butt heads often, she never held me back from anything that I wanted to do. She didn't always approve of what I was doing, and she struggles with the fact that I travel all over the world. She did think, woman's place is in the home, but yet she had the courage to allow me to go do something that she wouldn't have had the courage to do, and I saw that as a great strength. So I really, found that just gave me a lot of freedom.
Thank you. Annapurni?
Yogin, it's a very tough question to select two. Same here. Same here. I try to learn from whomever I met. First of all, Dr. Basarga. Whenever I call him for, sir, can I come to meet you? He knows that what I'm going to tell him. Still, he will tell, okay, come, because it's the same thing what I tell him in each meeting. So, again, learning from him that don't say no. Coming back to mentors, yes, my mom and my husband. My mom has struggled a lot to bring me to a civil engineer or an engineering position, because she never knew that what I should, never told me that you should take up this or that, but she was clear that she has to come to a position from where her family was. So, of course, my mom and my husband, who has been my critic, not only, at least Lucky had only one bad year. I am still having it. So even to now he's in USA, he had called me some time back. He asked me, how did your session go? I said, it's yet to go. So yeah, once I tell him, he'll be the first critic to come back and correct me that way. So these two people in my life, and I would like to add my inspiration. My son has been my inspiration. I started traveling for work when he was 3 months old. That was and still now I have been traveling. I'm in a month, 10 to 15 days I'm out of town. And still he manages everything on his own. So when he always says, you have to go here, right? I said, yes. How will I do my work? I said, I don't know. Okay, you go, I will take care. He's 12 now, okay, from that level. So thank you. Thanks to my family for supporting me so well. Thank you. Thanks, Yogi.
Thanks. Just to wrap up, I guess mentorship is something that, I have made different career changes in my career. And I talked about my career earlier. I went from working as a senior research fellow to doing a PhD, to being in academia, to coming back to being an entrepreneur. And so in each of these stages, there's been, there's been times when I've not been able to get the right kind of mentorship. And at the same time, sometimes people have been extremely helpful and guiding. And today in the industry, it's probably one of the only women entrepreneurs who are running a geotech company, a sort of a quasi-construction-based company. I get my mentorship from different places, and what I always notice is that there is a hesitancy from my, from the women's side. Sometimes it's a hesitancy to ask, and from the men, it's sometimes they don't understand that there are certain things that they may not intuitively come into. And I mean this from a working standpoint or an admin standpoint rather than a technical standpoint. So I see that this sort of happens many a times in different interactions, and sort of a takeaway for the audience over here from my perspective, or my experience as in different roles has been that mentorship plays a lot of role in making big decisions, and it sometimes makes or breaks your decisions if you want to take the jump or not take the jump. So anytime if you as a mentor or a mentee, you're on that whichever side you are, always reach out, because it will help you as well as probably the other person also. So on that note, we'd like to conclude this session, and I'll ask Shweta to do the concluding remarks for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogini. Good evening, one and all. My name is Sweta. I'm a project engineer working at Hub Foundation, located in Massachusetts, USA. The reason for choosing civil engineering as my career is because I want to learn and be a part of the designing a project and building and bringing it to life, and then also maintaining it. The quest for knowledge I have developed in the soil mechanics and foundation have led me to pursue and graduate a master's degree from University of Massachusetts Lowell from geotechnical engineering. I've become a member of DFI last year. I've been introduced to Ms. Lucky by Mary Ellen, and she actually encouraged me to be a part of this event today. Thank you. And after coming to this event, I have realized that actually I found a treasure that I never knew that there's a group like this which can support women in, and encourage and establish and grow confidence to become a professional. So thank you for this event. And then as mentioned by the panelists and the companies, the company should actually encourage the women engineers to enhance their professional career, and then also have more female engineers to be a part of the DFI, the deep foundations or the construction industry. And women should actually get demand what they want and get work done. This year there are 3 women speakers who are presenting at this conference, and none women keynote speakers. So I think we'll be having at least 1 keynote speaker next year at this conference.
You suggest one, no?
So I'd like to conclude by congratulating Ms. Vijayashree, who is a research scholar at IIT Hyderabad, for submitting a paper on interaction of granular piles arranged in a triangular pattern. Thank you, Ms. Vijayashree. I'd like to invite all the women attendees today to come out outside in front of the women in DFI banner to get a picture. Thank you.
Really a very progressive company. So we won't take too much time, but she will share something in 1 or 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'll not take much of time because it's already late and it's dinner time now. So basically, by profession, I'm geotechnical engineer, and I'm associated with Keller since last 7 years. And total, I have 10 years of experience. And 2 quick points I would like to tell. 2 quick points I would like to tell, which I felt during my course of field experience. My company Keller had taken 2 great initiatives which helped and encouraged female engineers to be sustained in construction field and outgrow and outperform. So when I joined Keller, we were only 2 female engineers across India, and in today's date we are total 10. So average growth rate of around 1 per year. So which is really very appreciating and very good initiative, which encourages women empowerment. And second thing which I like and emphasize is, as everybody know, construction field is like always going on a site, and in Indian market it is like women should not go or cannot be in the site because of well-known reasons. So when I and my other female colleagues proposed to be and visit the site, our management had taken it very positively, and they ensured that whenever we visit the site, it is safe, secured, and well equipped with basic necessities like a washroom. And once we are back from site, especially my mentor used to check with me, was it comfortable? Do we need some improvement? When like female point of view, do we need to improve it? So this normally doesn't happen, I suppose, in many of the companies. So this is basically 2 takeaway points what I feel for a female engineer, and which encourages us to be in construction field. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I have Dr. Yogini Deshpande. Ms. Suprabha Marathe. Ms. Annapurni Iyer. Ms. Nayak Keller. Yeah. Thank you. Deep. Oh, there's one more?
Yes, sir. We would like you to appreciate
Thank you.
conducting the session.
Thank you very much.
For,
Thank you.
on behalf of the
Thank you. Oh, yes.